Okay, so we are on day 5 of NTI. So today I don't have a video for you, so I will just be reading and going over some of the questions. So you guys should be reading The Distracted Teenage Brain today. Okay, so I'm going to start with the introduction. When most people think of distraction, they think of loud music or television. But in 2014, psychologist Zachary Roper conducted a study that offered a different definition of distraction. The results show why young adults may seem impulsive and easily distracted. Teens have a reputation for making some not-so-smart decisions. Researchers have blamed those poor decisions on the immaturity of a teen's prefrontal cortex. That is the part of the brain involved in making plans and decisions. But scientists now find the answer may be simpler: the allure of rewards. Rewards, even small ones, entice teens more than they do adults. And, perhaps surprisingly, teens tend to continue doing things they once found rewarding even after the actual payoff is long gone. Both findings come from a new study by researchers at the University of Iowa in Iowa City. Psychologist Zachary Roper and his team worked with two groups of volunteers: 13 to 16-year-olds and 20 to 35-year-old adults. Each volunteer had to play a game of sorts. During a training phase, a computer displayed 6 circles, each a different color. The players had to find the red or green circle. These targets had either horizontal or vertical line inside. The remaining circles had lines at the other angles. When the participant found the correct target, they had to press one of 2 keys on a keyboard. One key would report they had found the vertical line. The other reported finding a horizontal line. When a volunteer hit the right key, the screen flashed the amount of their reward they had earned. For some volunteers, green circles provided a large 10-cent reward and red circles provided a small 2-cent reward. For other volunteers, the amounts were reversed, with red circles worth more. All other colors had no reward. By the end of this training, volunteers had learned the value of each color, but they weren't aware that they had, notes Iowa's Jayton Vaja. When the scientists asked the players about the value of the red versus green circles, both teens and adults had no awareness that a circle's color had any effect on how much they had earned during any given trial. After this training ended, it was time to begin testing in earnest. The scientists informed the volunteers they had a new target. Each had to report the orientation of the line inside a blue diamond. Again, groups of 6 symbols appeared on a computer screen. Only one was a diamond. The other 5 were still circles. In some trials, one of those circles was red or green. In other trials, there were no red or green circles. The recruits were told to answer as quickly as possible, and for this phase of the experiment, no additional money would be earned. The researchers now measured how long it took people to find the diamond and record their answers. When no red or green circles were among the on-screen options, both adults and teens responded quickly. But when a red or green circle showed up, both groups initially took a bit longer. Adults, though, quickly stopped paying attention to the colored circles. Their response times sped up. Teens reacted differently. They took longer to respond whenever a green or red circle showed up. Their response times never sped up. Their attention still was drawn to the previously valued circles, even though the shape was no longer brought any reward. Clearly, the red and green circles were distracting teens from their objective. Roper's team reported the findings September 10th in Psychological Science. The study demonstrates that the attention of adolescents is especially drawn to rewarding information, says Brian Anderson, a psychologist at Johns Hopkins University in Baltimore, MD. He was not involved with the study. These data may help explain why teens engage in risky behavior, he says. Some behaviors, such as texting or using social media, trigger the brain's reward system. Once the teenage brain has linked a behavior to that reward, it continues to seek that reward again and again. That's why teens are likely to opt for the reward of social media when they should be studying, or why they respond to texts while driving. How can someone overcome their brain's attempts to distract? They just suggest physically removing distractions whenever possible. Shut down the phone when driving or disconnect from Wi-Fi while doing homework. When distractions are not readily available, it will be easier to focus attention on the things that matter most, like arriving home safely. Okay, so now we're going to do some of the assessment questions. So you have number 1, part A. Which of the following statements best expresses the central idea of the article? So the central idea again is basically what this passage is mostly about. What is the main idea of this passage? So I know I've told you guys this before, but most of the time, like on Common Lit or when you're taking the state test or a map, any of those tests, they will try to trick you with some of these answers by giving you details that help you support your central idea. So you need to find the one that matches what the passage is mostly about, not a detail that will help you figure out the central idea, okay? So I have A. Teenagers' brains are more easily distracted because they use social media and text while driving more often than adults. Okay, so you gotta think about it. Does it mention this? And if it does mention this, is it what the passage is mostly about? Okay, B. Teenagers are more likely than adults to take risks for money based on a study in Iowa City. So does it mention anything about teenagers being more likely than adults to take risks for money based on a study in Iowa? Is that one of the main ideas of the story? C. Teenagers are more prone to distraction because they are more attracted to or focused on potential rewards. So you gotta think about this one. Say, okay, is this what the passage is mostly about? Or you have D. Teenagers often do not realize why they want rewards because their brains are still developing. So on D, in the passage, does it ever mention how teenagers' brains are still developing? Alright, so again, this is another part A, part B question, which means you need to pay attention to what you have on part A, on part B, because you have to find your best support that goes with your central idea. So you have A. For some volunteers, green circles provided a large 10-cent reward, and red circles provided a small 2-cent reward. You have B. The study demonstrates that the attention of adolescents is especially drawn to rewarding information. And you have C. I think it's supposed to say this. It says these data may help explain why teens engage in risky behavior, he says. D. When distractions are not readily available, it will be easier to focus attention on the things that matter most. So you're going to choose between these 4, and you're going to choose which one best supports what you chose for part A. Okay, question number 3. So another part A, part B question. So I'm going to go ahead and click here. So it says, what does the word entice mean as used in paragraph 1? So I'm going to go ahead and highlight entice there. Okay, so when we find that word, again, we're going to use context clues to find what entice means. So we have to discourage, to inspire, to challenge, and to attract. Okay, so the best thing to do is look a little bit. There's nothing after it really, but most of the time when you look for context clues, you're going to look at the stuff that is before the word and after the word. So I'm going to start here and go down. So it says, but scientists now find the answer may be simpler. The allure of rewards. Rewards, even small ones, entice teens more than they do adults. Okay, so you can also put to discourage in place of entice, and then keep putting to inspire, to challenge, to attract. So let's look at here. So rewards, even small ones, discourage teens more than they do adults. Do you think that makes sense? Okay. You have to inspire. So we can say rewards, even small ones, inspire teens more than they do adults. Then you have C, rewards, even small ones, challenge teens more than they do adults. Or you have D, rewards, even small ones, attract teens more than they do adults. Okay, so honestly here you only have two that really make sense, which is B and D. So make sure when you're answering this, look at this as a whole, because there are some key words that will help you answer number 3. Okay, number 4, you have to remember what you have on part A here, because you want to find some evidence that helped you find whatever you chose for number 3. So you have A, not so smart decisions, B, allure of rewards, C, even small ones, or D, more than they do adults. Okay, so number 5, analyze the claim the author makes about distracted teenage behaviors and evaluate whether the evidence used to support this claim is sufficient. Okay, so it's been a while since we've went over claim. I think it's been since maybe November. But the claim is what the author believes. So what is this person's claim? So what do they think? So it's asking you, analyze what the author thinks about the distracted teenage behaviors, and you're going to look at whether the evidence that this person chose to support what they think is sufficient. So sufficient means kind of credible. Does the sources make sense? Is it good sources? Do they actually make sense? Okay, so if you need any help, you can message me on Google Classroom on Remind. Okay, good luck.